This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining us today is Christian Taylor Wilkinson, the Chief Executive of Altona Rare Earths. Following the announcement of an estimated JORC exploration target of up to 56.6 million tonnes at up to 1.65% total rare earth oxide at their Monte Muambe project in Mozambique. So hello Christian, welcome back again. How are you? Very good, thank you. Thank you for joining us today on this significant RNS that's come out this morning. So what can you tell us of these targets with regards to how you've established and the work you've been doing and the significance really in terms of the total target tonnage and the terro grades?
It's an amazing result. I think that's the first thing to say. You and I have obviously spoken before. We entered into this deal to acquire this asset last June 2021. And contractually, we were looking at about 25 million tonnes. So this target is a range of targets, of course, because it's only an exploration target. It's not the actual JORC resource, which will come later. But what it gives us is a high level of confidence that the resource is going to be many times larger than we expected. And therefore, I think compares favorably to some of our competitors, which is important because we're still a sub £3 million company listed on Aquis. That may change, of course, in the coming months when we move to the LSE. But I think it's important for anybody following the rare earth sector, anybody who wants to get involved and help these companies make a difference by supplying rare earths to the electric vehicle market, wind turbines, green energy, etc. Altona is probably a very good bet at the moment, but maybe I've got a little bit too ahead of myself by coming out with that. It's just that we're very excited by this target. We've done a lot of work in the last 9 months. We've now drilled these 2 targets that this report covers, over 140 holes. We spent 6 months doing soil analysis, and we brought in Rock and Stock, which is competent persons, and they do plenty of other service for the mining industry. And they worked with Cedric Simone, our COO, and they've put together this report. I've seen all the modeling pictures, so we now have the geometry mostly mapped out, so we can see the size of this ore body and the depth it goes down to. So for me, who before sort of 2018 was a non-miner, this is the first taste of seeing how an asset from zero gets put together and gets defined and shaped. There's still a lot more to do, but I think for today's announcement, to show that we potentially have up to sort of 57 million tonnes, and the total rare earth oxide at an average of 1.65 is a lot, no, not a lot higher, but it's certainly 0.1, 0.2, 0.3% higher. And if you're looking at the millions of tonnes we have, when that turns into extraction, into sale, obviously that equals tens, if not hundreds of millions of pounds extra on the life of the mine. So this is what we're looking for. Interestingly, talking to Cedric, he's not so bothered about the size of the resource. He's more interested in the grade of the resource. So when we cut this information down, the cutoffs we actually announced were at 0.5% and 1% trio. But we also went to look at the higher areas as well. So there is probably about 5 million tonnes at over 2.5%, reaching up to 3%. So there are well-defined areas which show the resource. There are sort of, let's call it, chunky areas within the other less dense areas.
Well, the RNS mentioned this well-defined high-grade zones. Is that what you're referring to? These kind of this dense area of high grade.
Yeah, that's right. So it's not sort of scattered evenly through the rock. The way again Cedric has been describing it is it's like a slab of bacon standing on its side. So and this is just the way it is. It's just an anomaly, I suppose. So there are slices which are maybe at 0.5%, 1%, and then there are slices at 1 or 2. But so it's not like a little pocket here or there. They are well defined. So for an open pit mining, it'd be very easy to know exactly where to go and exactly how far to drill and at what width, what depth.
Okay. But generally, as a start, as an estimate, in terms of the actual tonnage, 56 million, that's an awful lot. And the grade, it's looking, what, good, excellent?
Excellent.
Excellent. Okay, right.
Yeah. You know my background, so I'm going to say it's significant. But then I have to listen to our COO, who's a geologist, who says, it is all right. Classic Gallic shrug that he gives. But anything over 1% is considered economically viable. Okay. And within that sort of 1.6% we've looked at, I said there are a few million tons, over 2.5 up to 3%. Mm-hmm. There is a calculation. We haven't put a valuation on this project yet. It's too early. There are other factors at play here, but I think the data today, we're confident that when we do go to the more formal resource estimate in, let's say, January, February next year, it will be fairly close to these numbers.
We're just on that JORC, then that exploration target and proving it up further. What stage is the company at now with producing the JORC resource for Monte Muambe, and how much and what sort of further work needs to be done? Is it more detailed work, building confidence?
It's all those things. We're on track to deliver this in the first quarter of 2021. We're going to Indaba in February next year, so I'd actually like to take this resource estimate with us. I'd like to publish it a few days before we go. So the two targets we're looking at the moment, target 1, the holes we've drilled are fairly close together. So that's just expanding the drilling to better define the edges of the target, the ore body. We've defined the length of it. It's about 700 meters long. And then target 4, which has had probably a quarter of the holes drilled on it, we're quite well spaced apart. We're going to be doing some infill drilling there. So we're going to reduce the distance between the current holes to just ensure that what's been reported today is confirmed.
Okay.
We're also starting metallurgy, and we're also looking to sort of do the preliminary stages for a scoping study as well, because as I mentioned earlier, what's important is to know which of the 70, what quantities they're found in, and try to put together a basket price, which is what you see some of our peers are doing. So most of our peers are sort of at or close to a feasibility study, bankable, definitive, whatever it's called, feasibility study. So they have put a basket price on. And that range, depending if it's a heavy or a light rare earth project, usually between sort of $30 and $60 a kilo. So we have to add that sort of data in for this resource, because one of the things we would like to do is finally announce some kind of valuation to Monte Muambe, which we haven't done yet. And I think that would make things a lot easier for shareholders or investors, because we drilled some holes in the ground, we've got some great data, but we're still a sub £3 million company listed on Aquis, and it's hard. I think if I was a potential investor, it'd be hard to sort of look at today's RNS and be able to relate it to Altona's share price. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, very true. And there's not many opportunities to invest in rare earths at the minute on the London Stock Exchange. You can probably count on one hand the amount of companies out there.
That's right.
Indeed.
I'm sure we're going to see more. I read a report the other day, something like 2,500 new rare earth companies were in the last 12 months.
Okay.
Now, these aren't all mining companies. They're sort of all sort of stages of the process. But, it just shows the difference that China is still very much focused on what's going on. And I'm sure some of those companies will be going to Africa to try register claims or to try acquire existing assets for themselves. So alongside what we're doing here is reviewing 3 or 4 other projects that we've started conversations with. We may have exchanged a term sheet here or there, and it'd be nice to be able to become owners of not just Monte Muambe, but maybe 3 or 4 other companies as well. Again, different times of exploration, different times of development, get some into production early, just so we cover the whole range of rare earths. So we do what we set out to be, which is a supplier of rare earth metals, and it will be to the EU and to the UK.
Yeah. Okay. So the plan is to get that JORC resource by Q1 and then move it into the PEA soon after that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's so. There are lots of news coming up. There are lots of milestones coming up, and this is just Monte Muambe. So if we do manage to complete this stock market listing, which again is sort of now on track for mid-September, take advantage of the very quiet August stock market, raise money when no one else is raising money because everyone else is on holiday. So this is possibly a good time to do it. Then we can get on track and keep pushing sort of fairly interesting, sizable pieces of news out. But the next ones for Monte Muambe will be possibly a small update on one of the new targets we're looking at. In a couple of months. Then it'll be the resource estimate, and then it'll be the PEA.
Excellent. Well, that's a good amount of news flow. In terms of actually what's going on the ground, operations and activities, you've got more results from the lab, haven't you? And you've mentioned there other targets. Could you just explain perhaps stuff that's going on the ground right now?
Yeah, of course. So I explained what we're doing at target 1 and 4. There's another target 9 that we're currently looking at. The drilling company, which is called Spartan, they're probably there until I think beginning of October. Cedric is trying to, most importantly, define the size of these ore bodies, because they don't sit next to each other. They're sort of a kilometre apart from each other. And we're just trying to squeeze as much out as we can from Monte Muambe, but we sort of cutting things off at like 0.5%. So if we're finding areas that even on the surface might show grades over sort of 2.5%, the way we're approaching it is 30 meter, 50 meter drill holes at intervals, so sort of widely spaced intervals, just to see if that's replicated underneath. There's no weathering at Monte Muambe, so this again differs from somewhere like Pensana's project. All the weathered rock, which should sort of sit in meters above the surface, has either been washed away or blown away over the millennia. So we're in sort of primary rock. So whatever we do, we have to drill straight into it. Mm-hmm. So it takes things a little bit longer, but what it does also give you is a very clear number of what's there. So I think we have rejected maybe one potential target we're quite excited about within the crater, but we've got a couple of others we're looking at. So it's just, I'd love to bring up a fancy answer here, but it's not. It's just drilling and then recording that data and sending the bags of samples of the cores off to Intertek. Okay.
Well, that's what you need as an exploration company, is just drilling. That's what the market wants to see as well. So
it is, yeah, and it's going quickly. I think that's the most important thing. We're just slightly ahead of schedule.
Excellent. Okay, well, Christian Taylor Wilkinson, the Chief Executive of Altona Rare Earths, thank you very much for that update, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you again, hopefully on the listing, perhaps further drilling results, but of course the big one early in the year with the JORC estimate. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.